What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Kane's Game Review. Game 10 in the books. Just finished up a moment ago. A 4-3 win for the Carolina Hurricanes in the shootout over the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the story of this game was so similar to the other games of the season so far. Again, a game where Carolina comes out hot. They let off a little bit in the second period. It cost them, and then in the third, they regroup, come back in the game, and honestly, they kind of stole a point in this one in which they didn't really deserve. And I guess with the end of the shootout being what it was, they kind of stole 2 points. Vasilevsky faced a ton of shots, I think, heading into the shootout. He stopped 52, I want to say 51 saves maybe, so there was like 55 shots going into the shootout. An excessive amount of shots from Carolina. They really put it on Vasilevsky and the Bolts in this one. Tampa Bay obviously missing a few players. Namely Hedman, Cirelli, both out for this one. And honestly, the initial beginning of the game, really, like, Freddie didn't look that great. He looked kind of off, and then he had a really strong third period. So he's settling in. He's starting to come back to the Freddie we know. But it's taken a lot longer than it did last season. I think he kind of just came in and was rock solid right away. So early on in the first period, a puck gets through to the slot. I think Stastny maybe gets an extra touch on it. Comes through to Seth Jarvis. And honestly, Kotkaniemi had kind of passed up a shot opportunity right before this. And I was kind of ticked because I think Kotkaniemi has a very underrated shot. Passes up the opportunity, but that pass up leads to this. It bounces through to Seth Jarvis. He fires it past Vasilevsky, and the Canes lead 1-0. And that wraps up the first period. Carolina takes a 1-0 lead in. They look firmly in control of the game, but as I mentioned, that the second periods are not their friend. So on a 4-minute power play, I don't really understand how this was a double minor for Jalen Chatfield on this play. I'm not even really sure how it was a penalty. It just looked like a weird play to me, but it didn't look too much like a penalty. But I'm fine with it being a penalty. I don't really understand how it was a double minor here. Nevertheless, an initial disallowed goal on this one. Nemesnikov clearly kicks the puck in, and I think people were trying to argue on Twitter that it wasn't a kick. Man, there's no definition to this stupid rule. Honestly, I'm fine with the rule being if the skate remains on the ice, or an aspect of the skate remains along the ice, I'm totally fine with it counting. I really don't care. I think players should be able to use any real method to get the puck into the net. The only thing I would say is you can't glove and throw the puck in, but if you bump it with your glove, I don't really see how that's a problem. We're never going to get these rule sets defined, so it doesn't really matter, and it's always going to be subjective, and it's going to cause arguments, but I thought this was a kick. I don't really care where Nemesnikov's looking. His foot gives a kicking motion. I thought this was a good disallowed goal. And on the second half of this one, Ross Colton gets his third of the season, and we're tied up at 1. And then a short time later, again, this is a thing, right? Stamkos coming down on the wing, and he fires it, and I think Freddie is ahead of himself on this play. He is looking to take his stick blade, and he's going to redirect this into the corner. And unfortunately for him, Stamkos' shot gets redirected by Paul, taking a little bit off of it, which messes up his whole timing, which allows the stick to just perfectly not be there when the puck actually comes to Freddie's 5-hole. So Nick Paul gets his third of the season, and the Bolts lead 2-1. But the Canes answer back, and this is the main difference between last year's team and this year's team. This team just finds ways to answer back. A power play opportunity, I believe it was Corey Perry in the box at this point. That's pretty much all he did in this game. But a power play opportunity, Natchez on the left circle, kind of from that Ovechkin office, his one-timer. Beautiful screen by Stefan Nason on this play. He has been such a welcome addition to this team. The Nason screen, Vasilevsky can't see it. Natchez' shot gets past Vasilevsky on the power play. Natchez continues to be the magic man. His hot start continues, and we're tied up at 2. And then the crappy stuff starts. So first off, the Jalen Chatfield penalty here. This is the one where I'll listen to embellishment on Ross Colton's part. What happens after, not so much. So let's start with the cross-check. Jalen Chatfield, first off, it's embellishment or not, it's unnecessary on this play. Chatfield literally goes below the hash marks as the defender on this play to cross-check Ross Colton. Colton goes down incredibly easy. I would say it's embellishment. I would also say it's cross-check. It can be both. Just in this stupid league. I shouldn't say it can actually be both. It really shouldn't be. But in this dumb league with dumb officials and overall dumb people in charge, it is somehow both. Now, what I don't like afterwards is an earlier hit from Ross Colton where he sort of let up, sort of lowered himself to try to make sure he didn't take Martinook's head clean off. It's a low bar to go over. Colton's there. Martinook skates all the way across the ice. And, like, let's not mince words here. His intent was to use the stick blade of his stick to hit Ross Colton in the nuts. Penalty. Undisciplined, terrible, stupid, whatever you want to call it. It's a penalty. There were a lot of people on Twitter saying diving act on both. It's like people forget about being hit in the nuts or something. I don't even know. But this was a pretty clear one on my part. I don't like it. Super undisciplined. Again, this is why I just genuinely don't get Jordan Martinook in the lineup sometimes. But let's not even go there right now. He was fine in this game, aside from this. But on the ensuing full 2-minute 5-on-3, Nikita Kucherov from the right circle just rips a wrist shot. Anderson screened. It's a perfectly placed wrister. Kucherov's one of the best shooters in hockey. And it's 3-2 heading to the third. But in the third period, as the game really is just Tampa playing a lot of collapse defense, getting a lot of block shots. A lot of guys took a beating in this one for Tampa Bay, mainly Eric Chernak. But that's the thing. In this game, eventually something's got to break, and eventually it did. Carolina took a bad penalty. I think it was Pesce went in, and it seemed like, okay, this is we're kind of out of this one. Shea kind of gloves a puck along the glass, and he just decides he's taken off with it. Gets a nice pass back from Aho on this one, and he rips a wrister clean past Vasilevsky, and I'm sure nobody was really expecting it. But Shea's got his second of the season, a huge shorthanded goal, and that gets us. And honestly, Jarvis had a chance like immediately off the next faceoff too, but that gets us to overtime. And again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, stealing a point. These ones add up. It's good stuff. It's very good stuff to see, and it's great to see that this team continues to claw back into games. So Carolina would end up with a power play in overtime. Couldn't really generate a ton. Vasilevsky making a ton of good stops in this game anyways. So it was all kind of for naught. They did have their opportunities, but eventually we get ourselves to the shootout again, as we had on Monday night against Washington. And it takes until the fourth round until we actually get a goal here. Ross Colton, of course. And that's why I was like, oh, don't let Ross Colton be the guy who wins this game for Tampa Bay. He makes a nice move, crosses his leg, kind of throws Freddie off, gets him to stutter for a moment, and then rips it past his blocker. So it comes down to Teuvo Teravainen, the fourth shooter for the Canes in this shootout. He makes a beautiful play, stutter step, over to the backhand, past Vasilevsky. We're tied up at 1, and we continue the shootout. Hagel would come up, he would miss. Jarvis up next, he misses. Perry comes down and puts out one of the most pathetic efforts I've ever seen in a shootout in modern hockey. He misses. And then a beautiful move, Sebastian Aho. I don't know how he was the 6th round shooter for Carolina in this shootout. But he comes down, makes a great move, fakes the backhand, goes to the forehand, tucks it past Vasilevsky, and the Canes take this one 4-3 in the shootout. And just kind of closing this game off, I thought there was a few. Obviously, Vasilevsky should be talked about. He was fantastic in this game for Tampa Bay. Carolina's side, that second line, that Necas, Svechnikov, Kotkaniemi line just continues to be really, really good. But it is nice to see Freddie is starting to settle in a little bit more. It's becoming less and less noticeable, I should say. But this team still does need to make strides in curbing the efforts of the second period having so many issues for them. Anyways, guys, that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Click like on the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if not, if you haven't already, I should say. And comment down below, what were your thoughts about the game? What'd you think about the Ross Colton stuff? Is Tampa different? They felt different. Anyways, guys, thank you again so much for watching. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.